Hello, welcome to another episode of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition's Forum. I'm your host, David Dadekian, a small business owner here in Rhode Island. I own Eat Drink Rhode Island. Thank you very much for joining us as always. We appreciate you watching. We've got a YouTube channel now as well with all our videos on it. And of course, watching this on Facebook is always the option. And if you want to know more about the coalition, it's at risbc.org. Lots of things going on. We've got a lot of new members signing up in the last few weeks. We've got a new portal open. Lots of things happening with the coalition. So please check out risbc.org for all your small business coalition needs. Today's guest is Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. She really doesn't need an introduction. She's been a fantastic proponent for the small business community and, has been a champion for all sorts of things, small business in her brief time as Lieutenant Governor. But we're also, going to talk today. She's running for office. The general election is Tuesday, November 8th, coming up soon. So we want to welcome the Lieutenant Governor and talk about small business and what she can do for us coming into the future too. Thank you. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to the listeners and the viewers of the Small Business Forum. It's really a pleasure for me to be here with you.
Well, thank you. As I said in the introduction, you jumped into the role, about a year and a half ago now, I guess it was, when Lieutenant Governor McKee became governor and chose you for the role, and you jumped right in and sort of he was really a key part of the Small Business Coalition forming. And then you jumped right in and kept that going, and we appreciate that. I know you've got your small business forum on the alternate Tuesdays that we air this show, which has been great. But tell us, it is election year. It is election season. You are running for office. You've made it past the primaries. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about for the folks out there who. Because the lieutenant governor's role is not as showy and as out there as the governor. Tell all our viewers, who you are and what you've been doing for the last many years now as an elected official.
Thank you. So this is got past round one. I'm going for round two now, and I like to remind people that because people thought, "Oh, you won already. You're all set." Like, no, I still need your help. So I need to make sure that you come out and vote for me on November 8th. It's very important. Make sure put in your calendar. Don't forget to vote.
Good point. Yeah, everyone should vote.
Put it down right now. Vote for Sabina on November 8th. But now, thank you for mentioning. So as you mentioned, I was appointed to the position by Governor McKee when he became governor. He's the state of Rhode Island. The Constitution says that the governors get to appoint the lieutenant governor if there is a vacancy. After an application process of 80 individuals that apply, I was fortunate enough that I was appointed to this position. It has been an amazing experience, and also it has been also a good experience because I work in collaboration with the governor. Governor McKee has had an open door for me to work with him and his team and collaborate. And one of the things that he told me early on was about the work that he was doing with the Small Business Coalition and about the important role that this coalition had and made during the pandemic, making sure that information was getting out to the small business, in many cases, the micro businesses that were not getting any type of information that was being shared with the business community. He told me about the importance of this forum and the importance of maintaining this line of communication with our small business community. Since I had been in this position, I have been able to work in this space, which is an area that I worked a lot when I was at the local level. I have been always a supporter of the small business and the micro business community. I can tell you when I was in the city council, one of the things that I did is work with the Center for Women's Enterprise and I give them a grant so they could go right and visit the small business community in the neighborhood. In this case was with the neighborhood of Oniville. And to make sure that we provided the technical assistance that they needed and also to bring education and resources to them. And the way how we did it was very strategic. We went into the small business and we visited them. So we went like door knocking to the small business in the Main Street area. And we were able to do that because the small businesses, the micro businesses, it's very challenging for them to be able to take time off to go to a meeting or to any resources. That's why this medium is so important, this conversation, because they can connect right from businesses and see the information is delivered to them. So basically, that's what I was doing with the Center for Women and Enterprise at that time. Carmen Diaz-Lucino was the director. And we went into each business, we talked to them, asked them about what resources they needed, brought the resources to them. In many cases, they needed trainings on QuickBooks, how to be able to manage their finances. Other times, they needed a consultant to come and give them feedback about the look of their business and how they can make it more attractive for the customers to come in. In other cases, it was just where did I go for access to capital? What is the process? How did I become a business that qualify for different grants opportunity, for different loans opportunity? So that's the type of work that I did. So I'm very passionate about the work of the small business community, and this is what I've been doing in this role as Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, no, it's very clear your commitment to it and your passion for it. The Center for Women in Enterprise is a fantastic organization. One of our previous interviews was with them, and we've got those videos on, as I mentioned, on YouTube and Facebook if you want to look back and learn more about that organization, because it's a great organization, and they do a lot of really important technical support for women and minority businesses. I love you mentioned you're working with Governor McKee, and I have to say, as a media person looking in, I don't think I've ever seen in the last 15, 20 years, however long I've been back here in Rhode Island doing this work, as many co-announcements from governor and lieutenant governor as I have in the last year and a half. And it's an interesting process to see that, the offices work so closely together. Because, I mean, for those of you out there who don't know, we'll just be honest, lieutenant governor's office is not quite as big and as broad as the governor's office. Like, your resources are limited.
Yes. Yeah, the resources in my office are very limited, actually. I have a staff of 7, and I have to say, especially now in which my office does more work with the governor, we're feeling the pain, right, of having a small staff, and we're trying to keep up with everything that is going on. But actually, I want to remind everyone that when I came in as lieutenant governor, the staff that was in the office went with Governor McKee to the office of governor, which is understandable. So when I came in, at the beginning, it was just me and Ernie Almonte. Then eventually I was able to bring 2 more staff, Billy and Katia. But it has been in the office as we're doing the work, and we're doing extra work because of my collaboration. I'm working, having the support of the governor. So it has been a lot. We have been doing a lot of work, but it's all worth it. It was all worth it to make sure that we are bringing resources and information, in making sure that we are present on what is happening within this business community in the state of Rhode Island.
Right. Well, I've certainly run into you at a lot of different openings for small businesses, things of that nature. So I know you're out there as much as you can be. You came into it with the pandemic. Was obviously still in full force. It's thankfully gotten a lot better since that year and a half. Though there's still things that people should be aware of, concerned about. How do you feel that, this last year and a half has been for you, in looking forward into hopefully winning this election and moving forward into a full term? What do you see there?
Yeah. This first year and a half, we got to remember we're still coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Changing rules and changing process, learning to basically learning to live with the pandemic, and in trying to move from pandemic to endemic. And there's very challenges for this small business community. One of the things that we worked really hard was to make sure that, and right now it feels like it was ages ago, but it wasn't that long ago, making sure that our population was vaccinated. That was key in order to make sure that we're able to keep the economy open, and we didn't have to go back and shut down and anything like that. It took a lot of work, hard work, working with the municipalities to ensure that vaccination was being done in every community of the state of Rhode Island. So a lot of the work that I did at early on at the beginning, together with the governor, was that the vaccination, making sure that every community, every municipality, every city and town had access to vaccination, and that they were partnered with us on getting the vaccines. If we were saying we wanted to get shots in arms, right? That was
Right. Yep.
the phrase we used. So
And I apologize for interrupting, but I just want to remind everyone out there, I got my booster. The boosters are available now. It's a good idea.
yes,
No different than a flu shot. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. Maybe a little soreness in my arm, but that's typical with any shot. So yeah, those are out there as well, and everywhere as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
yeah, and that's a good reminder to everybody that we need to get our booster. The vaccine is the best option that we have to prevent complications, right? Because some people say, well, but people with the vaccine still got COVID. But it was not as severe
Right.
as
Exactly.
it would have been without the vaccine. And that's the importance of the vaccine, to make sure that if you get COVID, you don't get complications. It's going to lower the risk level of you ending up at the hospital, ending up in a intubator or any situation like that.
Yeah.
That's why the vaccine is important. That's why the booster is important.
Right.
So that was a lot of the work that we did. And then was making sure that did not, once after the vaccination, making sure that we did not go back in the shutdown. There was a lot of this conversation actually last November, December. There was a lot of conversation about whether for the winter we will have to shut down the economy, shut down businesses, and go back. It was a lot of hard work from the governor and his team and my office to make sure that our economy continued to be open, and that the small business community were not able were able to continue operating. That was part of the work that took place. And then after that is right now, the work was making sure that we advocated heavily to make sure that there were resources for the small business community in the state budget. That was the next stage of the work. And also with the ARPA funding, the funding coming from the federal government. So that's been part of the work. There was many of the feedback that we heard from the small business community that were added to the budget, the feedback that we got. Like, one of the things that I think it was a big win was lowering the penalties for taxes when someone is behind on their taxes from 18 to 12. That was a
great for a small business.
Great. In just, we are now at the same level as Massachusetts and Connecticut, so we're not an outlier here in the state of Rhode Island. So that actually was a big win from the budget. As probably you know, I have been a big advocate of housing, and I was advocating with the governor, his team, and also with the General Assembly to make sure that we allocated as much funding as possible from the ARPA funding to housing. And for the first time in the state of Rhode Island, in the history of the state of Rhode Island, we have dedicated resources for housing, $250 million. And this is historic. And this is going to help us build more units, building units at all income level. Yeah.
Now, it's one of those things that people don't think of with small business, but if you don't have places for employees to live, how do they get to work? We're in this obvious, very much a crisis. I hesitate to use the word, but I think it is to some degree about staffing. Staffing is such a huge issue for so many small businesses, and if we can get more people here living here, then we hopefully that'll help the staffing issues.
Yes, no, definitely. And I have to tell you, one of my biggest surprises was going to every community in the state of Rhode Island and seeing that housing was a challenge in every community. Right?
Yeah.
I remember going to Block Island, and I was not expecting that housing was such a big issue on Block Island. And think about this: they relied a lot in a lot of the service industry,
Yeah.
and they don't have housing available for the workforce. So that is translating to a challenge for them to be able to hire staff and retain staff, because the staff is not able to find units, and the units that they find is the prices are out of control. They cannot afford it. So housing issues are small business issues.
Yep.
And when we talk about attracting workforce to come to the state of Rhode Island, if we're trying to bring workers to move to the state of Rhode Island, we don't have places where they can move to. And it's because for many years, we have not have a strategy for and a plan for building housing units. And those are the things that we're addressing right now. I can tell you through the collaboration of my office and the governor, I was part of the final search committee for the to hire Josh Saul as our first Secretary of Housing here in the state of Rhode Island. That's gonna change the game right there, because we have someone that is part of the governor's cabinet that is dedicated specifically to housing, the housing challenges that we have. Not just the building housing at all income level, but also building affordable housing and addressing the homeless challenges that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really important. Uh, it- how about let's while we're on the topic of things that are affecting small businesses, but can you any thoughts and insight on the energy issue and the cost of electricity going up? I mean, I know that's certainly not within the lieutenant governor's purview, but it does it is overseen in some degree by the executive branch.
Yes. So actually, I was having the conversation at the last Small Business Forum. I was talking also with Chris Barisi about this, and the challenges that we have. And we have been talking, and we have heard a lot about the concerns, which are very valid, regarding the residents, right? The
Yeah.
residentials and the challenges with, right now with the rate increase. But some of the things that we haven't now been talking enough is about how the rate increase is affecting the small business community. One of the areas that I would like for every small business or every business to take a look at is if they could uh, go into the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. There is a program that is called the CPACE, right? And this program is resources, low interest loan and other type of resources for those businesses that would like to become more energy efficient. This is a good time to go to the website of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, take a look at the CPACE program, and find out if your business qualified, if you could change the heating unit in your business to make sure that it's more affordable, but also is a cleaner option of type of energy consumption
Sure.
for your business.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you. Yeah, the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. You should check that out. You can Google it. It's easy enough to find. I think the interesting thing there, and landlords should do that as well, because a lot of small business owners don't own their site. If they're a retail shop or a service business, they may not own their business. So landlords should check that out as well. But I think I was also thinking, as you said that, you mentioned residential, but then you talked about small business, which is what we're all about here with the forum. But the vast majority of us who own small businesses here in Rhode Island, who are the owners and operators in these businesses, are also living in a home in Rhode Island. So we have residential needs as well. Unfortunately,
Yes,
it's kind of a double hit. And so I used Rise when I moved into our home many years ago. So there's that out there as well.
they're really good.
You should check that out if if you don't know what that is, Google Rise Energy. I forget what it is. Rhode Island. I forget what it stands for, but I'm sure if you Googled Rise Energy or Rise Energy Efficiency, that'll come up for you, and they help you with your home. But the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank will definitely we'll put a
Yeah.
link down there and let people make sure they know to get to that.
Yeah.
Excellent
And
point.
actually, good that you mentioned Rise because actually, when I moved to my home a few years back, it was an older an older house that was built in the 1920s,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
And that first winter was really tough for us, right? And we called Rise. They came in. They did an audit of the energy needs in my home, and then we were able to do the insulation. Once we did the insulation of the attic
Yep.
at the basement, it was everything changed.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
makes a big
yeah,
difference.
it was
Absolutely.
like a huge difference. So make sure you check that out also.
Excellent point. So, what do you see moving forward? Going forward, we've talked a lot about last year and a half. Thankfully, like I said, that the pandemic is waning and we're making strides there. But where do you see us going forward in the future? What do you think is the possibilities for small business here in Rhode Island, working with Lieutenant Governor's office?
Yeah. One of the things that I want to concentrate the most is bringing resources to Rhode Island for the small business community, partnering with other organizations that are applying for federal funding, in making sure that my office is a strong partner and advocate with them in order to be able to have a competitive application and get those resources to the state of Rhode Island. A good example of that is we're going to have an announcement, formal announcement, but the press release already went out. Is that we were able to get the state of Rhode Island got a grant for $4 million, and this grant was actually from the Commerce Department, but it was specifically from the Office of the EDA, and that would be the Economic Development Administration Office. And I'm looking forward to working closely with the office at the federal level and to be able to bring more resources for the small business community here in the state of Rhode Island. That's one of the areas that I'm going to be doing a lot of work. Next is also to make sure that the access to broadband and internet
Yeah.
is accessible and it's available to every community, to every neighborhood, have access to reliable internet. I think this is an important thing for the small business community and also for the residents of the state of Rhode Island.
Right, exactly. It's for both. But I mean, honestly, if you can't get to a small business website, then that's hurting small business and the resident. So yeah, excellent point.
Yeah. And today, this morning, also, we just had the Small Business Advocacy Council meeting, and we had a very robust discussion with the Nina Savage from the tax administrator for the state of Rhode Island, and making sure that we provide more information to the business community, especially one of the discussions that we always have is for the small businesses, but the micro businesses have this challenge with the sales tax in how to make sure that they maintain their sales tax up to date. They don't fall behind because that's going to have so many other consequences. Then after they lose the status, then it becomes like a snowball.
Yeah.
So working with the agencies like the tax administrator to make sure that we are providing the information and the resources that the small business community needs in order to understand what is this is the conversation that we had this morning. So people say, okay, the sales tax, that's money that belongs to the state. The business should not be using it for something else. But not every business understand that and how that works. So trying to be more proactive on that space, helping the small business community navigate those challenges that we have known for quite some time, that is some of the hurdles that they go through. That's also part of the work that I'm going to be continuing to do.
That's a great point. And also, I think communication, with tax department, it's getting better. I'm not saying it, it's not like it always has been, but I think that's always something that we have to stress and get out there more.
Yeah, the presentation today was really good. They have a new manual also specifically for those that are looking to open like a restaurant business from the tax um, perspective, what you need to know. And it's available on the website also of the Department of Revenue in the taxation division. That information is available. And we're looking forward to doing more of this type of work, being very proactive and being more customer friendly
Yeah.
also for the business community.
Well, I mean, certainly, communication with your office, with the previous lieutenant governor's office, was always great, and that's nice to see that continue. And I'm sure it's only going to get better moving forward after you possibly win re-election. We've got to be fair to it is an election, but
That's a word.
yeah, exactly. Knock on wood. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate talking with you. Is there anything you want to say in closing? Anything you want to wrap up with?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to remind everyone, please remind everyone to come out and vote on November 8th. I really need your support. And if you would like to get in contact with my campaign side, please, my number is 401-400-1315. Please reach out to me if you would like to help me with my reelection on my campaign side. The number is 401-400-1315.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll put that down, link as well to your campaign website, so people have that information. As Lieutenant Governor said, Tuesday, November 8th, that is election day. Though you can certainly vote early in just about every city and town in Rhode Island now. So you'll be able to go to your town hall or local canvassers and vote early if you so desire. But either way, it all ends on November 8th. So if you vote early, that's fine. But you got to make sure you vote on November 8th if you don't vote early.
And we got to remember New England weather. So if you vote earlier, it's even better because for the primary, it was raining so much in the morning, remember?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. It was a terribly
yeah,
rainy.
so if you can vote early, do that. It's better.
Excellent point. Well, thanks again for talking with us. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate all your support for small business from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Thank you to Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos.
Thank you, David. Thank you for this opportunity.
Take care. So that's another episode of our forum. We hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Check out risbc.org for all your information about the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. Again, that's risbc.org, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you. Take care.